Check it out, y'all. This is CG11A1B6.
Hi, I'm Wanda Borland, and you are watching a Focus On. And today our program is focused on MIG Windows. And today she's brought one of the lead characters from the new film she's working on called The Diminished. His name is Corey RENFREE.
Nailed it.
Thank you for joining us. And today we're going to talk to Mig about what it's like to be a filmmaker in Southern Oregon. If you wouldn't mind me asking, what is the origin of your name? Because it's very unique.
Oh, thank you. It's actually short for migraine. No, it's not. I'm kidding. No, it's my grandparents gave everybody nicknames growing up, and they decided mine should be Amiglia because I twirled my pasta really well in the high chair, so they thought I should have an Italian name. This is an Italian baby, but they just basically turned it into Amelia, but they put a G in there. So
and so over the years it's been shortened to Mig.
Well, my real name is Emily, but so was everybody else's name when I was in kindergarten. So there weren't any other Migs. So
how long have you been making films here in Southern Oregon?
Here in Southern Oregon, well, for a couple of years now. My sort of debut film, my first film, was called Not a Bench, and I think it's aired on RVTV a bunch of times, and it won the Grand Jury Prize at the Klamath Film Festival a couple years back, and that was this quirky little indie rom-com I made with my really close friend, I guess you could say boyfriend at the time, who was dying, and yeah, I wanted to make a movie with him, and we had done this play together when we first met. And so I crowdfunded together $1,000, and there were a lot of problems with shooting it because it was we're shooting in the park in Ashland, and there were soccer games happening. So we decided to change the narrative of the film so that these people can magically bench hop from bench to bench throughout town, and it was kind of fun. So there were a lot of technical problems with it, but it turned out to be a pretty sweet little movie, and I still have people still say it's their favorite thing I've ever done. I'm really?
Wow. And that was the first one that
was the first one I ever did. Yeah.
But you said something that indicated that you have been in theater.
Oh yeah.
So how long did you start in high school or college?
I started theater in the 3rd grade because the 5th graders were doing a play about the Revolution, and they needed someone with a British accent to play King George. And I was the annoying kid who quoted Monty Python all the time. And so they were like, get that kid. And yeah, and then I've just been acting ever since, I guess. Corey's been involved in theater for a long time.
Yes, let's get Corey involved here.
Yeah.
Corey RENFREE.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the theater, acting, filmmaking?
Well, I started doing performance type stuff when I was really young.
Like Mig then, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That young?
Yeah, I'm from Montana, and the area I grew up in, there wasn't a whole lot of art, there wasn't a whole lot of music, there wasn't a whole lot of theater, but they did have a small university in the city I grew up in, and every year there's this company called Missoula Children's Theater, and they would come through town annually and put on these, Disney-type plays that all these kids would learn in a week, and my parents would always take me to go audition for these things, and I did that every year, and I loved it, and it was awesome and fun. And so I got a lot of acting experience when I was just a wee boy, but yeah.
Well, it sounds like your parents supports this for you then.
Oh yeah, they love it. A lot of people in my family, I'm very interested in music and acting and stuff, and my family is not quite that way, but they love that I'm so invested in arts and stuff, and they've been always been incredibly supportive and wanted me to pursue the arts. So I'm very grateful for that. I guess.
That's great. Yeah. So that makes me curious, Meg. How about your parents, family?
Oh, yeah, I have parents and family. No, they're great. Actually, my dad is apparently going to loan me 2 guitars tomorrow for a shoot. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yes.
My dad was like, yeah, if you want to use my guitar, only if I can play the devil in your movie. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I already cast that role, Dad. I'll write you in as a ghoul or something. But my mom's cool too. She actually works at the Shakespeare Festival. She's worked there in the box office for a while. And so they're both like super into the arts and performing and stuff. And
wow. You've acted in a few films. I think the one I saw you in...
The Truth About Daisies.
The Truth About Daisies.
Yes. Oh,
I really
yes.
like that film.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So let me jump into this because I recall in that film there was a nude scene or a semi-nude scene. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that?
Oh, I mean, there were a couple. The one that was harder was actually the one towards the beginning of the movie where I leap naked into the ocean. That was actually much worse than you know, having some dude grind up on me. The ocean, much less forgiving. It was very cold.
Yeah.
And when I saw the film, I was kind of like, oh God, look at me jumping into the water. You can tell I'm not someone who does that very often. But it was still fun. I mean, it was an experience, you know, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the sex scene, you know, it was interesting. Like my scene partner for that was this guy Taylor, who I've known for a super long time. Oh. And we were just talking about like anime between shots, and you know, it was very chill. Everybody there was you know, super supportive, and and nobody said anything rude, you know, which can always be a bad thing. Yeah. But yeah, that scene was, you know, and I think it turned out, I will say I didn't think the scene was going to be as long as it ended up being in the movie. So, you know, while I was watching it, I remember thinking, wow, it's still happening, all right. That's me.
Okay. I'm wondering, your experience in acting in the films, how is that translated to producing, writing, and directing? Because that's what you're doing with your new film, The Diminished, it seems. Yeah. So how,
So, well, honestly, that's not what I wanted to do at first at all. Not at all. I wanted to get other people to do those things. But I found at a certain point that I couldn't, you know, always rely on that, because, you know, that won't always happen. And sometimes you just have to be the person to tell your story. And so, yeah, I mean, like, especially with my last couple of films, you know, I just kind of found that I was like, I don't know that I would trust somebody else to be able to tell the story the way that I want to tell it. So I kind of had to like learn how to direct and learn how to do all that stuff.
Your production company?
Yes, Road to 11 Films.
Road to 11 Films.
Yeah. I did the I Never trilogy, which is a trilogy of short horror films. Never trilogy, I Never Can, I Never Will, and I Never Did. And it's basically, it tells the story of this man who cheated on his girlfriend multiple times, and she ended up committing suicide and is haunting him. And it's told from like, from 3 different perspectives, basically. Road to 11 Films actually just made a movie called Emma Was Here, and that was a feature film, and I produced that and I acted in it. And that film had like a 40,000 something, I think, dollar budget. I don't know exactly, but it was definitely higher than this next one. Yeah, that was kind of a big deal. So Road to 11 is like very busy with that project now that it's in post, and you know, they're adding the score and everything. So yeah.
The Diminished.
Didn't they die in a car crash?
Dad died. Mom survived, but she, I don't know. She was always really obsessed with wanting us to be famous. Let's just say it got old real fast.
Hey, is everything okay in there?
So I could play, and I could sing, but Tucker couldn't. I don't think he'll ever be over what she did to him.
Psilocybin in the cookie jar. Barbarella with a library card. And that's all I ever wanted.
Everything is gonna be. You're gonna be talented, and we are going to have the best musical.
Tucker!
The Diminished is, I mean, it's a story that I've been working on for like 6 or 7 years. And then I wrote this, you know, last version, which I think is the best it's ever been, you know. And I think part of that, I'm gonna embarrass you, but is because of Corey. Was reading the scenes and how he played guitar in his audition, and I was like, I can work with this guy.
Mom wanted us to be famous, but let's just say it got old real fast.
Yikes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I just play to play. I don't really give a shit about being famous.
What do you give a shit about?
You? She was always really obsessed with wanting us to be famous. Let's just say it got old real fast.
I'm sorry.
So I just play to play. I don't really give a shit about being famous.
Yeah? Well, what do you give a shit about?
You.
Corey, how did you first become aware of the Diminished and, you know, learning about the auditions?
Well, the theater community here in Ashland is pretty tight-knit, and everyone knows each other. And as soon as I moved out here, I'm an SOU student, and I'm a performance major. So as soon as I moved out here, I was launched into the community, into the theater community. And when I was in Montana, I had been doing a lot of film work. Like I love film. I love film acting. I love the process. And as soon as I got out here, I wanted to start doing it. I wanted to find people who were you know, self-starters like Mig, people that, you know, wanted to make their own art. And I just kept asking around, and I heard things from various people about who was making films in the area, and a name that came up quite a bit was Mig.
Great.
And I can't remember exactly how we met, but it was through people in the theater department.
It was
I'm sure.
Safeway.
Was it a Safeway?
It was a Safeway.
Might have been a
Wow.
Safeway.
Yeah.
How do you go about inhabiting the character?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Well, Mig has given a lot of clues as to who this person is in the script, and usually when I get scripts or have to develop a character, I've been told by my teachers and people that I look up to as professionals, they just say read it over and over and over again. Really try to see what the relationships are between you and the other characters, and just you have to just go over it and over it and over it again and build the life up from the bottom. Really, figure out where you're at. You know, what you like to do. In the film, Rich is a musician, so that plays a huge part of who the character is and the sort of lifestyle he has. The type of music. We have a wonderful musician, Brett Levick, that has is doing some of the music for the film, and it's spectacular. He's a really cool rock and roll guy, and so the music that he gave to us to listen to and that I will be singing in portions of the film, that gives you a lot of clues to who this person would be. And yeah, I guess just how he interacts with everyone in the world that Mig created. So you just gotta go over it and just think about the character quite a bit, I guess. That's how I approach it. I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, but that's what I do.
In this particular character, Rich, is there anything you're drawing from yourself?
Yeah, well, I actually used to be, still am, kind of a musician. I used to be in a band, and that's what I thought I wanted to do for a while. I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to travel around and play music. So that I have in common with the character Rich. But there's certain instances in the film where things happen that I wouldn't personally do, and for instances like that, you have to try to find motivations for why that person would do those things. And you have to love your character, you have to love what you're doing. So you gotta kind of look at what's happening and say, why am I doing that? Oh, this makes sense. You have to justify it. You have to justify what the character's doing in the show. So Rich is a very different person than I am, I think. But but that's the fun of it, you know. I get to step out of myself and be something that I'm not for a little bit, and I can kind of forget about everything that's going on in Corey's life and inhabit another person. So When there's instances in the show, in the film, where I can't draw on my own experiences, I got to try to use my imagination and justify what I'm doing, I guess.
The character goes to some places that it might be hard to inhabit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I try to put as much energy and effort into it as I can. With these certain themes that Mig has introduced in this world, I think they're dark, you know, and they're ugly, and life is often that way, I think. And in order to do service to these sorts of stories, you need to lean into it. You can't hold back. You have to really push it. You have to play ugly. You have to be ugly. Because, I mean, if you don't put all of the energy into it, it's going to fall flat. It's not going to have the sort of impact that it needs to have. I think, and this is just my opinion, I don't know how Mig feels personally, but with content like that, I think the objective is to make the audience be repulsed a little bit and like understand that that's not right. You know what I mean? With those sorts of dark material, I want people to look at that and go, you know, oh my God, like it's pretty messed up. Things should not be that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And instead of seeing someone do something halfway and not really understand what they're supposed to take away from it. I want audiences to take away like that's not right. That things should not be that way. I guess I don't know if I said that right, but
Yeah, and you know the thing, and it's interesting because I was asked the other day, like, Mig, why can't you write a happy story? Oh. But you know, I don't really think there really is such a thing, because every story is about conflict. And so even the stories that end happily are about conflict. Stories, even comedies, are not about happy people. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, but as far as, you know, like why horror?
Yes.
Because I get asked that sometimes. You know, I was a kid who, I didn't like scary movies at all. And I would hide. I think even like Aladdin scared me when I was a kid. Like the Cave of Wonders, I was like, I don't know, I don't want to look at that. This big scary cat from the sand? No, scary. And actually it helped acting in movies because I was cast as a zombie in like one of my first movies, and when I saw how the people were being transformed into zombies and how they're just kind of moving around and like they're like, you know, eating power bars over there and like, you know, between the scenes they're just like all talking and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this isn't actually very scary, you know. So that actually kind of helped me, and then I developed like this appreciation for horror movies, and now I love horror movies. So
you are about, or maybe you already have started filming.
Today we did some shooting. Yeah, we tried to keep it a little simple. By the way, I hurt myself.
What's that?
Filming is dangerous. It's actually from the shoot. Oh, fine. Yeah, I filmed a scene that I was acting in today, and you know, it was interesting because it was sort of a lot of things went wrong. You know, they did. A lot of things didn't go according to plan, but I feel like that's life. You know, that's what happens, and so it's not about like everything going smoothly. It's about being able to jump over the hurdles when they come up. You know. And I think we did some good hurdle jumping today. So,
how do you determine what scenes you're going to shoot, you know, the most efficient use of time and location and people?
A lot of it will have to do with, we have this location this one day. Great. Let's get as much shot in this location as we can. The second element is usually like schedules of people, you know. If there's someone who is totally irreplaceable and they cannot make it to that day at that location, then you have to decide, do you want the person or the location? And I've had to actually make some hard calls in this movie, like already, you know. And there's some really wonderful actors that like I wish they were still playing the roles that they were going to be playing initially, but just because of, you know, how things worked out with locations, that's just how it is, you know. That's the nice thing about writing and directing a movie and being in charge and not having a studio tell you what to do. I can just be like, I'm gonna have these people shoot that day. I mean, of course, it isn't always as easy as that, but yeah.
So Corey, how do you manage to fit being an actor in a film with and also being a student?
Oof, it's a lot. Me personally, I just need to keep myself busy. Otherwise, I don't know. I like to be busy. I like to always be doing something. If I'm not constantly busy, I feel like I'm wasting time. So right now, Mig has been very generous with the scheduling. I know it's been kind of a nightmare. Anytime you get a bunch of people together to try to make a schedule, it's just something else. But right now, I'm free a lot of the weekends, and that's my only free time I have, and I'm more than willing to give it up to be a part of this artistic project. So I just got to compartmentalize, I guess. During the week, I'm at school. I'm focusing on my studies and my classes, and then once I'm done with school on Friday, it's time to film. It's movie Corey, movie Corey on the weekends. So.
Yeah, and like the other things, like I know that the people in the movie have outside lives and things that they're doing, and while it is important to have people on set, obviously, if I need to change something and have the person not be there, I mean, this is like, it's not a huge, big studio production. I have to work around it. I have to figure it out. And it's interesting, too, because, like I was saying earlier, I was not planning on being in this movie. And I wrote the part of the younger version of the mom. I wrote that for somebody else. And I had to step in and play the part because it was just getting down to the wire, and I was like, I don't know who else can play this part on this day. And somebody, I think it was my costume designer, said, well, Mig, you're not doing anything other than directing it.
Oh, you're not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, you know where you'll be. So, yeah, so I did a whole thing. I mean, and I'm doing way more in the movie than I even planned on. Like, I'm going to be singing a song tomorrow at a shoot. I was not planning on doing that. So, but it's interesting too to step in and play a character that you've written that you didn't particularly like. Because my character is, you try not to judge your character, but it's kind of hard with this one. She's not, she's a very interesting woman. She does some things that a lot of people aren't gonna like. And yeah, so it's interesting kind of stepping in because kind of like what Corey was saying, I had to actually, not just from the purpose of being the director, because the person I wrote the role for is such a likable person that I was so sure that like, people are just gonna give her a pass because she's, a really sweet girl. But like, then I was like, okay, it's me now. Oh, okay. How do I get people to like me and also fear me? So yeah, it was tricky, but it's been really interesting looking into the script and kind of finding these moments. And actually, it's weird. There are things that I totally identify with this character. I never thought I'd say that because she's crazy, but
driven.
Yeah, she's a driven person, and she's determined to make her dream happen no matter what. And I mean, hey, that's what I've been trying to do with this movie this whole time. So,
but you're not trying to make it happen no matter what.
I mean, no, there's some no matter what's that I'm not gonna go that way. But yeah, but it's been interesting, and I mean, yeah, I remember last night I was like sending out schedules for people and planning shots for the next day. And I was also in the process of like learning a song and putting contact lenses in and doing all this other stuff to get ready for this character. It's totally bizarre, it's bizarre to be acting and directing a movie. But, I did that in the I Never trilogy, and that's one of the reasons I did, because in that movie I drown in a scene. There's a scene where I'm drowning in a bathtub, and now that is hard. It is hard to be drowning in a bathtub and then also be directing the scene. So you're like underwater and like, can you move the camera over there? So,
I wonder how do you manage it all, Mig,
well,
without drowning?
Yeah. So the craziest part is that, people are surprised when they know me from filmmaking. My day job, I work at a wonderful company called Banyan Botanicals. It's an Ayurvedic herbal supplement company. that you know, has a blog about like healthy lifestyle stuff, and I write for the blog sometimes. I you know, format their articles and stuff, and it is like the chillest work environment. I work with mostly women, and everybody's just really great and really supportive, and that's the place where I go to de-stress is work. It's kind of funny, but I get to be work Mig, you know, and work Mig, she's got things to do. She's got like articles to format, and yeah. So it's interesting, but you know, the other thing too is that like, because it's such a positive environment there, and you know, I do some Ayurvedic lifestyle things that help me, you know, because I think like self-care is something that's very important, and a lot of people don't put much energy into that.
I agree with you there. Right.
Yeah.
It's very important. How about you, Corey? What do you do for some self-care?
Self-care. Well, with the schedule I have, class all week and always busy on the weekends, I find that if you don't eat right, sleep, and exercise every now and again, your body just can't really keep up with it. At least I can't. So I love playing basketball. I have a couple friends that I go play basketball with every now and again. That's a great way to de-stress and just get some exercise. I love media. I love watching movies and TV shows. Like that's also a huge escape for me, and as well as music. So yeah.
So you still play music for yourself, or as a way of de-stressing?
Yeah, from time to time I'll play guitar a little bit, mostly just so I don't get too rusty, because every now and again I'll have to go play guitar for an audition or something. So I like to play music every now and again, but mostly just listening to music. Like I'm always constantly listening to music. If I'm driving, I'm listening to music. If I'm walking to class, got my earbuds in. So music is a huge part of my life.
I want to thank you both for coming in. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Mig Windows. Thank you very much, Corey RENFREE.
Thank you
for having us.
It was fun. Thanks.
Bye for now.
Well, you know, what I'll say is that, like, I don't think I could have made any of the movies I made if it weren't for the other people involved. Film is a collaborative medium, and you can be one of those people who tries to do it all, but like, having other people is such an important component. We're very, very lucky to live in Southern Oregon because there are so many talented filmmakers here working, looking for projects to do. There's so many talented actors. There's just so many talented people. I am also on the board of directors for Southern Oregon Film and Media. It's a good group of people, and we're all very passionate about local film. Was that inspirational? Do you feel like making a film now? Because you should, Southern Oregon. Go make a movie.